I only have about 2 hours before I need to head out of the house, and then it's off to the races for the rest of the day. I'm gonna sub at the kids' school for a couple of hours in music. We have track practice, band rehearsal, and then also a baseball game. And this is pretty typical these days. It's just a really busy season with teenagers, and I find that I have less time for homemaking than I did when the kids were little, but that doesn't mean that we can't still get some things done. I just need to be a little bit more creative and efficient with the time that I have and kind of shift my mindset a little bit. So first things first, I'm gonna get dinner going in the slow cooker, because I find that if I have dinner done, then it frees up a lot of mental bandwidth and also time for focusing on some other tasks. Plus, I will thank myself later, since we're gonna be out of the house at dinner time, because instead of scrambling to throw something together right before or on the way home, it will already be finished. And it's only gonna take me a few minutes to get this pesto chicken going in the slow cooker, and then I'll have the rest of the limited time that I have this morning to tackle a few things around the house. I already have about 2 pounds of chicken breast in the slow cooker, and I topped that with a few sun-dried tomatoes in oil, just about half of this little jar, and I also drizzled a little bit of the oil over the top of the chicken breasts. And I sprinkled just a little bit of red pepper flake, like maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon, just a pinch. You could leave this out. I'm taking my jar of pesto and I'm transferring it to like a little blender cup, because I'm gonna add some other things to that. I'm adding a teaspoon each of garlic salt, onion powder, and chicken bouillon. And then about 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup of water. This bottle was sitting on the counter, so I'm just gonna use some of it. Blend, blend, blend. Pour that over the top of the chicken and the sun-dried tomatoes in the crock pot. Put the lid on that, and we're gonna go low for 6-ish hours, give or take. I could do high for 3 to 4, and we'll come back to that later. That's it. Okay, now that I've got dinner going, I have about 2 hours, just 2 hours before like a full stop. I've got to finish getting ready, change my clothes, get out the door, and then that's basically it for homemaking for the day. But we can do a lot with 2 hours, am I right? The first thing I'm gonna do today is something I used to do when my kids were really little, and that is take this empty laundry basket and walk around the main areas of the house. I'm talking about the places where we all gather. The kitchen, the living room, the dining room, the entryway, the hallways, and I'm gonna throw things in the basket that aren't where they belong. This bracket definitely did not work out very well for Ruth. Clearly this one did not work out for somebody, and they were very upset. When the children were really little and mine were close together, I had 3 and 4 years. So at one point, I had a baby, I had a toddler, and I had a preschooler. And there were lots of things, toys and clothes and coloring books and little baby eating utensils like spoons, and of course trash. And most days at some point, maybe I was expecting somebody to come over, or maybe I just wanted to tidy up at the end of the day, I would just take a laundry basket and I would throw everything in the baskets, and then I could tuck them away if I couldn't get to putting things away right away, and it wouldn't be, you know, all over the floor and the flat surfaces and countertops and sofa and rocking chair all day. I also try to take my blinders off and look for areas where there is clutter that has been there so long that I don't notice it anymore. Our daughter went to a birthday party a few weeks back that was a masquerade, and this has just been sitting there since then. And these card games have been here since grandparents visited almost 2 weeks ago. And I've walked by them so often that I just now think, you know, they're part of the decor, but they're not. They need to go in the basket and then get put away. This glove has been sitting here for probably like a month. I started to break it in. We just haven't come back to it. This one too, I'm sorry to say, it was seriously sitting over here so long that it like looked like part of the spring decor, you know? Now that the kids are older, I don't do this every day, but once in a while I still do this, especially when I have limited time or when I just don't know where to start. And I just keep walking around and looking for things that are out of place until I've picked everything up or the basket is full, whichever comes first. Okay, my surfaces are a little tidier now and my laundry basket is full. So time to take a look at what we picked up. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm going to look for things that I know have a spot. Like I already know where this goes. It has a place, it just wasn't in the right one, and I'm going to, right now, take it to that place. Like, even if it's just one item at a time. Laundry. This goes in the car. Game cabinet. Closet. Oh, bathroom. And if there are things that I'm not sure about, I'm just gonna set them aside for now or leave them in the basket until I can kind of get some of the things put away where, you know, I know that they already have a place where they normally live. Is this the most efficient way to tidy up because I'm making multiple trips to the same space in my house? No. However, it is a great way to get some steps in my day. Picked up this basket at Goodwill a while back, and I don't really have a use for it right now. So what I'm gonna do is put all of the things in here that really need to go upstairs to the kids' room, and then just add it to the cabinet on the stairs. If you have a 2-story house and you have kids, you surely have a pile on the stairs, am I right? I think the Holderness family actually made an entire song about this. No joke. One time I set some toilet paper, like a package of toilet paper here on the stairs, and it became like a running joke. My husband and I wanted to see how long it would take the kids to take that toilet paper up. I think it sat here for 4 weeks. We were like, what are y'all doing up there? Are y'all using the bathroom? Like, do we need to see a doctor? Because this has been sitting here for a while. Sometimes the strategy I use is just low-key passive aggressive, and I just put stuff where they can't actually get by it without having to really step over it. Hopefully this signals them to actually take something upstairs. Will they probably just dump it in their room and I'll have to nag them later to tidy that space up? Yes, but at least it will be off the stairs. Pip, you tell them to take all that stuff upstairs when they get home, okay? Save their mom a little bit of work. These baseball pants are brand new, but they did not fit, so I need to return them. They've just been sitting on the dining room table for like a week now, so I'm gonna put them in this sack, and I'm gonna put the sack in my van because I drive by the place where I can return them all the time. So sometime when I'm out and about, they'll be right there for me to go ahead and return. Trash, trash, trash. No way that is a full deck of cards. Look at how thin that deck is compared to this one. So I'm not even gonna count it. I'm just gonna throw them away. I don't know why I was letting these gloves live in the living room. Maybe because I was working on breaking them in and I knew I didn't want to take them out to the garage because that can negate the progress we're making, like the weather, the climate can dry them out again. But I have a spot in my laundry room. I have a shelf where sports equipment and shoes and bags live, and I don't know, I think I just got blind to where they were sitting in the living areas, and they've been sitting there for weeks. Okay, my basket is empty now, and I was able to take something to its place or make a place for everything that I had in here. And it was a pretty light load today. We weren't in too bad of shape. But here's the beauty of the basket method and why I used it so much when the kids were little. Somebody's doing like yard work out there if you hear some noise. If I was short on time and didn't have enough time to put everything away that I threw in my baskets, or if there were things that I just wasn't sure what to do with. Maybe I hadn't made a space for that item yet, or it kept moving spaces. Instead of getting overwhelmed by that or upset that I didn't perfectly empty my basket, I could easily just tuck this away somewhere. I had a couple of cabinets in one of our older homes where these would fit, and I would just kind of tuck it away in there until I could get back to it. Our laundry room has space for baskets. Sometimes I would even like set them out in the garage if we had company coming over and I was just short on time. It was not trying to avoid the problem. It was just creating a space where I could think for a little while, where we could host, where we could entertain, where we felt calm and relaxed, and then be able to come back to those items later on with a clear head. So that took me about 40 minutes, and that was with moving the camera around, chatting with you guys, kind of giving an explanation of what I was doing, capturing some B-roll. I could probably do it in about half that amount of time if I'm not filming it. But that also means I still have an hour. So I know exactly what I'm gonna do. But first, I wanna take a couple minutes to stop and thank today's sponsor, ButcherBox. One thing I have gotten very particular about, no matter where I'm purchasing it, is fresh meat. I didn't always pay much attention to quality, but now I find I am looking for words like grass-fed, pasture-raised, organic, antibiotic and hormone free. I recently signed up for ButcherBox again. I've been a member before, and this is a way for me to have some of those qualities I'm looking for in our proteins and the added convenience of having it delivered right to my door. ButcherBox is dedicated to providing clean, whole food protein with nothing extra, making it easier to get nutrient-rich meat and seafood that supports a healthy lifestyle. I love having the customizable box because I can pick what I am getting in every shipment. This month I stocked up on chicken breast and also salmon fillets, and I like that they're individually portioned because I tend to heat these up in the air fryer for lunch. We're big steak fans around here, so I also picked up a few little top sirloins, and this bone-in pork roast is going to be fantastic in the slow cooker. I usually cook this up to make like carnitas or pork tacos. Right now with ButcherBox, you can get $60 off plus free protein for a year when you use the link in the description box below, scan the QR code on screen, or just use my code CMindyMom at checkout. If you're ready to get some high quality protein delivered right to your door, you can start customizing your ButcherBox today. Just follow that link in the description box or scan the QR code on screen right here and use my code CMindyMom at checkout to get $60 off plus free protein for a year. And thank you again to ButcherBox for sponsoring today's video. So an hour isn't enough time for me to tackle a large spot, like a whole closet or a whole room or the garage. But I want you to think about that little area that you walk by all the time and you know you need to take care of it. Like every time you walk by it, you're like, ugh, I really need to get to that spot. I really need to get to that basket. I really need to get to that drawer. I really need to get to that pile in the laundry room. You know what I'm talking about? For me, it is this right here in a main walkway in our living room. I walk by it all the time. This drawer in my book hutch where a lot of like random cords and some technology and other knickknacks live. And also what I call the dreaded corner. This corner by the refrigerator. Even before we had the kitchen redone, it was always like piling up over time, and I would have to stop and address it occasionally. Basically, what's that little task around your house that you've been putting off, even though you know it probably wouldn't take very long to tackle? You probably have a few in mind, and especially if you've been a homemaker for a while, you probably have a good idea of how much time it would take you, and for whatever reason, you just keep putting it off. That's where I am with these spots. So I'm gonna take my hour and see what I can accomplish there, so I stop kind of kicking myself every time I walk by them and saying, I'm gonna get to that someday. That day has come. That day is now. A totally sharpened pencil with an eraser is a very hot commodity in my house. This is a find, I'm telling you. Oh, it's not a Ticonderoga. Of all things I've become a brand snob about, pencils is one of them. Ticonderoga, man, it's where it's at. I think with all of the decluttering and organization trends and content that's been created in previous years, I don't know about you, but I sometimes feel overwhelmed, especially when I think about trying to take on the task of decluttering or organizing or cleaning my entire house as one project. That's just not realistic. Man, this is where all the pencils were. This is where all the pencils were. Okay, I know these have been in here a while because it's been at least 2 years since we had to memorize the state capitals. Y'all know the capital of Maryland? Colorado? New Jersey? Kentucky? I've actually probably forgotten myself, but my kids know them. We have a pond in our backyard with fish, and the reason we have to keep the fish food inside is because, believe it or not, this has happened several times. If we put it outside anywhere, even like kind of tucked away in a corner or in a bin, the raccoons will find it. And they can actually claw their way or bite their way into these plastic containers. We have found so many destroyed and just scattered all over the yard, so we actually have to keep it inside. So I got the 2 baskets that were sitting on top of this other basket empty, thinking, oh, this one must be full of stuff. I've got to empty this out so I can fit the handful of items I still have in here. But look at what's inside. Almost nothing, like practically nothing. Everything probably could have just been dumped in here to begin with. But we're not just gonna dump it all in here. I'm gonna see if there's anything that needs to be thrown away or taken somewhere else. 1 knee pad. What is that doing in here? Somebody just stuck that in there so they wouldn't have to put it away. Ugh, recorder. I really hope we're finished with this, but I better hang on to it in case they still need it for the end of 6th grade. Okay, I actually ended up with hardly anything in here, and I don't have an immediate need for this basket. So I'm just gonna put this basket inside the other basket. Ugh. And I'll remember that it's in here when it's needed. But hey, this space is gonna look so much tidier, and I finally just got it done. I think in the day-to-day, we might only have an hour or 2 or even less to devote to homemaking. And that's why I find it a more realistic approach to do these kind of small projects each day. It doesn't have to be this big, giant plan to spend a whole day or a whole weekend or a whole holiday, you know, Christmas break, Thanksgiving, decluttering, organizing, tidying, deep cleaning every single thing in the house. I set this drawer up to be a charging drawer, meaning things could actually lay flat and plug in, and we could close it while they charge. So I think I've cleaned out most of the things that just got dumped in here that don't belong. And now we're left with all these cords. Look at how many cords. Seriously, I wonder how many there are. I have to fight hard to battle that all or nothing mentality, and just to be careful not to bite off more than I can chew. To remind myself that it is okay to take baby steps, and that even having a small amount of time can make a difference, especially when those little small patches of time, you know, 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there, an hour one day, it all adds up across the week, across the month, across the year to help me keep my home from, you know, descending into utter chaos. The answer is 21. 21 cords in this drawer. So I hope there is some inspiration here for somebody. It certainly is a good reminder for myself to think about the fact that not every project, or most of homemaking in my world, it's not going to be a very drastic, super dramatic before and after transformation. It's going to be just little small tasks that add up across time. But you know, you don't hear about that very often because it's not very sexy, it's not very glamorous. It doesn't make a great clickbait title, right? To say, let's spend 20 minutes decluttering this drawer. That's not extreme enough for people, but honestly, it is realistic. One of the issues we were having with this drawer functioning is that there was so much stuff in here we couldn't actually lay the devices down flat to charge and then shut the drawer. But I didn't even need to get rid of all the cords, even though I definitely had duplicates, in order to make room. Because as soon as I took out all the stuff that didn't belong here, stuff that just got dumped here, and took it where it belonged, or threw it away if it was trash, there's plenty of room to store the things that are supposed to go in here. And once again, this is functioning as a place where we can charge items and not have them be like cluttering up spaces with bunches of cords all over the place. Well, I didn't quite make it to my third hot spot, the dreaded corner, but that's okay. I still feel good about what I was able to do with the small amount of time I had today. Even though I couldn't make it to every single room, cross off every project on my list, visit every nook and cranny that needs to be addressed in my home, I still was able to use the small amount of time I had to tackle some things that just make me feel a little better, you know, up here about the to-do list, and a little bit better about the state of my home in general and what I'm seeing, what's in sight, what's in plain sight. I don't have to do everything to make a noticeable difference. It doesn't always have to be a big deal, you know? Okay, home from school, got everybody where they needed to go. And I am going to head out to the baseball game here in just a little bit. My husband's already there with the boy for the warm-up. But before I head out, I want to finish making up dinner. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing and then also give a few ideas for different ways that you can use this recipe. So I can tell you this is one of those recipes that smells better than it looks. It smells absolutely amazing. I'm going to take my chicken breast out into my sauce, like the juices and the pesto that's left in here. I'm gonna add about a cup of grated Parmesan cheese and I don't know, like half a cup of heavy cream. Give that a little whisk. I could not decide if I wanted to add a cornstarch slurry to this at the beginning, but I am going to. This is just about a tablespoon of cornstarch stirred into a couple tablespoons of that heavy cream. I think I want my sauce to be just a little bit thicker for how I intend to use it. Okay, I'm gonna put the lid back on, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn my heat up to high because I want the sauce to thicken up a little bit. That'll probably take, 15 minutes or so. In the meantime, I'm gonna shred up my chicken. After the chicken is shredded, you could put it back in the slow cooker with the sauce and just let it heat back through for a few minutes and then eat it over a baked potato, over pasta or rice. I am gonna make wraps. And then we're gonna use the sauce that's heating up right now and thickening up as like a dipping sauce for them. So I have like a spinach and kale mix here. I'm gonna put some greens on it. Got some chicken. I went ahead and took my sun-dried tomatoes out of the mixture. I thought I would wanna like cut them up and have them included in here, but I decided not to. I just set them aside. I couldn't decide which kind of cheese. I think I'm gonna go with feta on this one, but we also have some mozzarella if people want that instead. I wish I had some of those crispy onions. Like the crispy fried onions, I'd probably put that on there too. Not gonna worry about dressing it because like I said, we're gonna use that sauce to dip in. I'm just gonna roll it up like so. And I'm going super easy for the sides with just some chips and fruit. And I got these pita chips because I thought they would be good for dipping in the sauce also. I wasn't sure how it was gonna turn out. Having the sauce on the side, almost kind of like an au jus, but with pesto. That is really good. That's very tasty. I was right about the pita chips too. Really good for dipping. One of the biggest reasons that I decided to turn this into wraps instead of like making it into a pasta dish is because I thought it would be really easy to pack up and take with us, because I can just make up the wraps and like look for a little container I could put some of that dipping sauce in. Probably switch from strawberries to some little clementines, some little oranges, much easier to transport. Little bag of those chips. I could put it all in a brown bag so we could just toss it when we're done eating. And that way we can have a meal to enjoy at the ballpark, because usually there's a lot of waiting around, like for the game to start, the previous game to end, warm-ups to happen. We can have a home-cooked meal and not, tempt ourselves with concession food or going through the drive-thru. I hope you found this video encouraging or some part of it helpful or inspirational. YouTube thinks you might want to watch this one next. If so, I'll see you there.